us on Roku, Dish, Pluto TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Join Real America's Voice in these new markets. We're excited to be coming to a city near you. KRID Channel 22, Boise, Idaho. KPVM Channel 25, Las Vegas, Nevada. WBNA Channel 21, Louisville, Kentucky. Channel 113 is coming to Comcast, Chicago. Real news and honest views. Real America's Voice.
All right, live from Studio 6B on a Tuesday night, 30 minutes past the hour. Real America's Voice. Dish Network Channel 219, Pluto TV Channel 240. Glad you're in. Paul's going to have more news. Rick Delgado's coming up with What Even Is That. But right now, please welcome back to the show the CEO and editor-in-chief of Just the News. His latest book, of course, is Fallout. He was nice enough to come on then. He's nice enough to come back. Mr. John Solomon. Mr. Solomon, how are you?
It is good to be with you, Damon. Congrats on the success of your show.
Well, congrats on everything at Just the News as well. Thank you very much for coming back on. And
glad to do it.
You know, let me start with this, because people watching this show, a lot of them, I think, they're working during the day. They come home, they want to get Just the News, and they look at what's going on right now with all the news this week that you guys have been reporting on, the declassifications from DNI Radcliffe, and they see basically now that we had an Obama administration. We have a Democrat Party. They're surrogates in the media. They're surrogates in government. They're surrogates in law schools that weaponized the CIA, the FBI, the NSA in an attempt to come after Donald Trump, the candidate, the transition, the president, to remove him from office, despite the vote, despite the Electoral College, despite the Constitution. If that's not tyranny, I mean, I don't know what is.
Yeah, no, you said it just right, Damon. It's exactly what happened. You had a dirty trick that was hatched in Hillary Clinton's head and in the head of her advisors. She had a problem, right? When she was going into the election, she had this email scandal going on. She had the Clinton cash scandal that Peter Schweizer's book had raised. Bill Clinton taking lots of Russian money when the administration was trying to reboot Russian relations. She wants to get rid of it. So she starts a dirty trick, and somehow she gets the CIA, the FBI to play along with it. And for 3 years, this country went through unnecessary turmoil called Russia collusion when none existed. Donald Trump didn't do anything to collude with Russia, but they kept the false narrative going with the help of the FBI, with the help of the Justice Department, with the help of the CIA, and then with the special counsel, Robert Mueller. And it was all just a bogus, dirty trick, a false story from start to finish. And if that doesn't anger hardworking Americans to see their tax dollars, their time, all wasted on a bogus scandal, I don't know what does.
Yeah, and the thing is, how the hell do we go 3.5 years and no one mentions the intelligence that they knew all of this, and no one mentions it, and we still, like you said, have to go through this for 3.5 years.
And listen, Gina Haspel, the CIA director, was trying to fight this release that came out today, right to the last minute. What did we learn today? We learned that at the very moment Christopher Steele walks into the FBI, he's the dossier author, the British spy turned Hillary Clinton opposition researcher. The moment he walks in there, the CIA picks up evidence that Russia knows that Hillary Clinton has authorized this operation and that its goal is to plant a false story and to vilify Donald Trump, pretend he was connected to the hacking of the DNC so that they can put the attention on Donald Trump with a bogus story and take it off Hillary Clinton. The CIA knows it in early July 2016. By the end of July, Barack Obama gets briefed on it by CIA Director John Brennan. And by the beginning of September, the CIA is so concerned by what Hillary Clinton's team has been up to, they tell the FBI, you should investigate this. What does the FBI do? It puts it in a circular file called the trash basket, and it goes and does the Carter Page FISA warrants, and it keeps investigating Donald Trump on evidence that Hillary Clinton's team manufactured. Remarkable sequence of events now open for all the public to see.
And cut 20 there, G, whatever the cut was I gave you. Here's John Brennan. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but I'm going to play it for you.
I have.
Here's John Brennan today asked about it. Roll that, G.
Well, John Radcliffe is anything but an intelligence professional. It is appalling, his selective declassification of information that clearly is designed to advance the political interests of Donald Trump and Republicans who are aligned with him. But these were my notes from the 2016 period when I briefed President Obama and the rest of the National Security Council team about what the Russians were up to, and I was giving examples of the type of access that the U.S. intelligence community had to Russian information and what the Russians were talking about and alleging. Now, if, in fact, what the Russians were alleging, that Hillary was trying to highlight the reported connections between Trump and the Russians, if, in fact, that was accurate, and that's a big if, there is nothing at all illegal about that. And so John Ratcliffe and others are trying to portray this as potentially unlawful activity that deserved follow-up investigation by the FBI. No, it was a campaign activity. But again, I was giving examples to the president and others of the types of access we had. And I was blind to whether it referred to one candidate or the other. I was blind to whether it referred to one party or the other.
So, so all of this is basically just campaign events. This is just politics, is basically what he's saying there. You say what?
Well, listen, it wasn't politics. The dirty trick that Hillary Clinton seeded, the dossier, became the basis for spying on Carter Page and the Trump campaign for a full year. We infringed the civil liberties of Carter Page and other Americans on a false narrative that the CIA and the FBI knew from the beginning emanated from Hillary Clinton. And listen, we don't need the Russians. This is how the Democrats are going to play this the next couple of days. Listen, we didn't know if it was true. The Russians thought it was true. Well, if you didn't think it was true, you wouldn't have told Barack Obama. You wouldn't have made a criminal referral to the FBI. But here's the real dirty secret. The FBI already knew this was a Hillary Clinton dirty trick. How do we know that? Just a couple of months ago, Christopher Steele, the guy who wrote the dossier, the British spy who interfered in our election, he testified under oath in a British court that when he first met with the FBI, July 5th, 2016, and said, ta-da, here's my dossier, I think Donald Trump's a Russian spy. The first thing he told them was, this operation I'm working on was approved by Hillary Clinton. It's being paid by Hillary Clinton. She's read into this. The FBI knew this was Hillary Clinton's people walking in a dirty trick, trying to turn the attention on Donald Trump. We also know it from another guy. The former general counsel of the FBI, James Baker, said in testimony a year ago that doesn't get a lot of attention. We were being inundated by crap from he called it crap coming in from the Clinton campaign. They were dropping all these different things on Donald Trump, Russia. He said what was going on was actually horrible. The FBI had never been abused this way by a political campaign. We know the FBI knew about this from the beginning. They chose to carry out an investigation based on false pretenses. That's where the criminality begins. You're right. Hillary Clinton playing a dirty trick doesn't necessarily account to a crime. Dirty tricks go on in politics all the time. The second the CIA and the FBI treat it as serious, when they know it's not, they abuse the tools of intelligence, they infringe the civil liberties of Americans. That's when it becomes criminal. And the biggest crime of all, they misled the FISA court. They went and got these warrants on false pretenses, and nobody doubts that anymore. Even the FISA court has said, we were misled by the FBI.
And the other thing I want people to understand, and you correct me if I'm looking at this wrong, but when you look at Brennan's, this fusion cell that we find out about in these declassified notes, he's basically using that to collect incidentally. And what he's really doing is he's trying to come in the back door. He's saying, okay, let's think who in the Trump campaign, who they could be talking to. Let's surveil those people, and we'll back end finding out who on the Trump side is what information we can find out. So they're trying to come through the back door with this, aren't they?
They are. And that was a big revelation. Damon, you picked on something very important in this document today. If the CIA had a fusion cell, we know the majority of the information that the CIA got about Trump and Russia and Christopher Steele came from London, Great Britain. It didn't come from Russia. It came from London and Great Britain. Why is that significant? Who was the station chief in London at the time?
Gina Haspel.
Gina Haspel, the current CIA director, the woman that didn't want to give these documents up today.
Yeah.
I think the mention of the fusion cell today raises brand new questions. What did Gina Haspel know in London in the summer of 2016? What did he participate in with her friends in Great Britain, with the FBI and other people who were going over the London meeting, including Pete Strzok? We know he went to London in August of 2016. Gina Haspel has escaped having to answer any questions, but she was sitting right in the middle of all of this crosstalk.
Yeah.
She owes the American people an explanation.
How about Bill Priestap? I don't know what the reporting has been on him, but he went to London in 2016 as well. He was Strzok's former boss. Where does he fit in all this?
He refused to tell congressional investigators when they questioned him about this. I wrote a column 2 years ago in The Hill called London bridges falling down, the curious origins of the Russia case. And I pointed out then, it was the first time someone had pointed out that all the evidence of Donald Trump collusion, which turned out to be bogus, didn't come from Moscow. It came from London, mostly from people who were tied to Hillary Clinton. Alexander Downer, the Australian diplomat, $25 million donor to the Clinton campaign. Christopher Steele, the British spy. Oh, he happens to work for the Clinton campaign. May 8th, Bill Priestap, at the very beginning of this investigation, goes to London. When he's asked about it in Congress, he says, I can't talk about it. Has to do with Russia. I won't answer questions. So we know it was Russia related. We don't know what he was doing there. We know Strzok goes there in August of 16. The dirty road to the Russia collusion narrative, the false Russia collusion narrative, starts and ends in the city of London in Great Britain.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. A couple of days we were all thinking, why would Gina Haspel be blocking? Well, now we know. So let's talk about what you guys are reporting on Just the News today about this is now another scandal, but we'll move up to 2019 in the State Department. State Department officials told they broke the law by monitoring Americans during the Ukraine scandal, is your article. And you kind of broke this a little bit with Sean about a month or so ago. I remember seeing you on there. So what's the update here?
So what's important is that when we got the first round of information, I went on Sean Hannity about a month ago, the documents were heavily redacted. We knew that they had done some spying on 13 Americans, myself included, Sean Hannity, Lou Dobbs, Laura Ingraham, the president's son, Don Jr., and the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, are among the 13 people that they spied on using intelligence software targeting our social media accounts. We didn't know why it ended, why it came to an end. What we were told during impeachment by Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch was we stopped it because we ran out of resources. Classic bureaucratic explanation. That turns out not to be true. When we got the unredacted materials, I obtained these last night, these unredacted emails, it showed they were ordered to shut it down because they knew they were violating the federal law, the Privacy Act. They weren't allowed to target Americans and their social media accounts using intelligence tools at the State Department. That calls into question Yovanovitch's testimony at impeachment. It also calls into the question the whole FOIA process. Why did you redact this? The answer is to protect the State Department's illegalities. And there's a second reason, because there's a second revelation in the documents. We didn't know why they started monitoring us. Why were they monitoring us? We learned from the unredacted sections that one of their concerns was they wanted to combat a storyline that I started in my own writing, that Joe Biden, Burisma, was a problem in Ukraine, that it created a conflict of interest. And George Kent writes, as he's getting ready to start monitoring my accounts and Sean's accounts, he writes that one of the reasons they want to combat a narrative because the Burisma Biden story is a quote-unquote motherlode, that's his word, not mine, that could carry on all the way through the November 2020 election. That raises a really serious question. What are career people in Ukraine, at our State Department, at our embassy, worried about Joe Biden's prospects in the 2020 election? That's not their business. Their job is diplomacy and national security. For some reason, they monitored us because they wanted to protect Joe Biden and his November 2020 prospects. That's their words, not mine, their emails. And that's what was redacted a month ago. We couldn't tell you that part because it was hidden. Now we can tell you clearly what happened.
Yeah. Well, it's unbelievable. Great reporting on your part. Great stuff at Just the News. Congratulations on the partnership with Real America's Voice. We're really excited about it.
Really excited.
And as always, thank you for giving us a few moments on the show here tonight.
My pleasure.
John Solomon here, live from Studio 6B. Lots more to do. We're back right after this.